There's a lot of guys that wish they were in my shoes right now. As a matter of fact, ladies, you're not the only ones into shoes. I don't know if you've noticed the Gators. Have you seen it? Have you seen the Gators? You know, you got to follow Mr. Self. As soon as he got Gators, then I had to get them. Anyhow, you know, it's interesting because I'll tell you my story for the ladies that don't know me. I don't really have all the things that society says you're supposed to have to be successful. I don't have a college degree. I don't even have a high school diploma. And you know how society has a way of putting people in boxes? Could be the color of your skin. It could be your gender. In my case, it was my lack of education. I did exactly what society expected from a 10th grade dropout. I found myself working, I found myself as a custodial engineer. You know, we all got titles. I have my title, which simply meant I could sweep a mean floor. And, I found myself struggling to make ends meet, struggling to keep up with the big mouth promises I made to family, friends, and, of course, bill collectors. I was getting nowhere fast, making excuses about things. And look, because of that box that society put on me, I was so busy following the follower in this circle. I was programmed too. I was programmed to do exactly what I was told. Now the challenge is, if I take you further back, what led to that, what led to my story being what it was, is that as a young person, I was off track. I was off track as a young man. I was doing what we did in my neighborhood. Basically, in my neighborhood, there was the capitalist and there was the consumer. Some of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, the challenge was I was the consumer. And I didn't realize that the capitalist in the neighborhood was in the same boat, if not worse than the consumer. The capitalist was heading down a path of destruction just like I was. I was 15 years old. I walked into this facility with the attitude that I had as a 15-year-old person. And I use that term loosely. And I walked into this movie theater when I was 15 years old, and I did what I did best. I was disruptive inside the movie theater. And of course, the people that ran the movie theater, they did what they were supposed to do, and they asked me to leave. Now the challenge is, or the thing they didn't know, is that as a 15-year-old young person, I had sewed a towel into the back of my starter jacket, which was my pocket for my .44 Magnum. 15 years old. The gun was bigger than me, by the way. And so as they asked me to leave, I said, I'll leave, but I want my money back. And of course, he said, look at the ticket, because that's not our policy. And then as we walked out, I said, well, then give me everybody's money back. And you guys know the rest of the story. I found myself, of course, it wasn't my fault. It was their fault. If he would have just gave my money back, we wouldn't have had to go this far. And I found myself running across this parking lot. I found myself arrested. At the time, there was a place called 21 Below where a lot of us hung out. It was a young person spot. And found myself arrested in front of a whole lot of people. And I proceeded to spend a lot of time locked up in detention facilities. And when I did get out, I found that I was out of control. And I found myself, experimenting with all kinds of things. And of course, my drug of choice became cocaine. And my drug of choice, I found, all kinds of ways to do that, but smoking cocaine became the way I preferred to do it. And I found at a certain point that it became, it was beyond fun. It started off as recreational. It started off as that's just what you did at the parties. And it became a project. It became something that I had to feed. You guys know what I'm talking about? It was every single day. Look, I'm 16 years old. I don't have a job, but I have a $1,000 a week drug habit. And it's amazing the things that I would do to make sure that my drug habit was fed. You guys follow? I never missed a day. Never missed a day. Or I should say a night, because I slept all day. I never missed the opportunity to feed this beast of mine. And eventually that led me to 17 years old having a heart attack from smoking this drug. And it's amazing, at that time, as a matter of fact, I was ready to go. That morning, I knew it was, I was convinced this was it. And I was prepared because my life had spun so far out of control. I had hurt so many people around me, particularly myself. And I was ready. I was prepared. I said, this is it. And I was almost thankful that, look, it's done. Because this was becoming more work than I could bear. But of course, God has other plans sometimes. And I found myself, after this, in a drug rehabilitation program. And in this drug rehabilitation program, it's where I was introduced to people that saw more in me than I saw in myself. You know, these were people that said, look, your past doesn't have to equal your future. This is where it all began. This is where personal development came into my life, where it was a drug counselor by the name of Dave. Dave gave me a book, and in this book, the book was titled How to Win Friends and Influence People. And you know what's crazy about information? You know what's crazy about information is that once you get the information, once your mind expands, it can never go back to its original dimensions. It's crazy because even though when I left drug rehabilitation, I was clean for about 8-9 months. It was the most incredible time of clarity in my life. But I found ways to justify. See, what I did is I didn't change my associations, which was something I needed to change. So I found myself 1 foot in the neighborhood and 1 foot in a personal development book. And that's an interesting thing around the table, smoking crack with your buddies. All right. So I found myself going back to the very drug that almost killed me. Isn't it amazing sometimes that we will go back and do the things that are not good for us, but we're comfortable. We know it. It's comfortable for us.